The massive warship known as the Dominion cut through the darkness of space like a knife. It was the pride of the Galactic Union, a vessel so advanced and powerful that its mere presence could end wars before they began. The ship stretched nearly 3 miles from end to end, its dark metal hull absorbing light rather than reflecting it. Weapon ports lined its sides, each capable of unleashing destruction that could level cities. Commander Dex stood on the bridge, his 4 eyes scanning the holographic displays that surrounded him. His gray skin wrinkled around his mouth as he frowned at the small blue planet ahead. Such an unremarkable world, he muttered. Hard to believe the Council considers it a threat. Don't underestimate them, Commander, said his second-in-command, Officer Wren. Intelligence reports suggest these humans are unpredictable. Dex waved a dismissive hand. They haven't even colonized their own moon properly. Their technology is primitive. We could conquer them with 1/10 of our fleet. Then why send the Dominion? Asked Wren, her voice low enough that only Dex could hear. The commander didn't answer. That question had bothered him since they received their orders. The Dominion wasn't just any warship. It was the most advanced vessel in the known galaxy, equipped with planet-killing weapons and stealth technology that made it virtually undetectable. Using it to monitor a pre-galactic civilization seemed like swatting a fly with a supernova. Begin scanning procedures, Dex ordered, pushing his doubts aside. I want complete data on their military capabilities, communication systems, and power grids. The crew moved with practiced efficiency, their hands dancing over control panels as the mighty ship slipped into Earth's orbit. The Dominion's cloaking, shield activated, bending light around its massive form to keep it hidden from Earth's primitive detection systems. Sir, called the sensor officer, I'm detecting unusual energy readings from the surface. Dex moved to the officer's station. What kind of readings? Unknown, sir. They don't match anything in our database. The commander's upper eyes narrowed. Impossible. Our database contains technology from every known civilization. Nevertheless, sir, these readings are... The officer stopped mid-sentence, his face showing confusion. They're gone now. Location? Multiple points across the planet, but heaviest concentration was here. The officer highlighted a region on the holographic globe of Earth, a landmass they call North America. Dex studied the map. Continue scans. I want to know what that was. Hours passed as the Dominion circled the planet, gathering information. Everything seemed normal. Primitive satellites, basic radio communications, nothing that should concern the most powerful civilization in the galaxy. Commander, Wren said, approaching his command chair. May I speak freely? Dex nodded. Something doesn't feel right. This mission, why would the Council waste the Dominion's time on such a backward world? Before Dex could answer, alarms blared across the bridge. Sir, shouted the sensor officer, those energy readings are back but much stronger. They're everywhere. Dex jumped to his feet. Raise shields. Prepare weapons. Sir, the readings are changing. They're forming some kind of pattern around us. The ship shuddered slightly. What was that? Dex demanded. The engineer's voice came through the communication system, panic evident. Commander, something is interfering with our drive systems. The energy field is somehow resonating with our core. Impossible. Dex slammed his fist on the console. Nothing on this planet has technology capable of... The ship shuddered again, harder this time. Sir, the navigation officer called out, our position is becoming unstable. It's like space itself is folding around us. Dex's mind raced. This couldn't be happening. Not to the Dominion. Not because of humans. Emergency protocol. Send distress signal to Galactic Command. Tell them... The bridge lights flickered, then went dark. For a moment, there was only darkness and silence. When the emergency lights came on, Dex saw fear on every face of his crew. Status report, he demanded. Sir, we're nowhere. Explain. The navigation officer looked up, his face pale. Our sensors can't detect any stars, planets, or galaxies. It's like we've been removed from the universe. Admiral Wilson paced the length of the Galactic Council's emergency chamber, his boots clicking against the polished floor. Representatives from 17 advanced civilizations watched him nervously. "The Dominion has been missing for 48 hours, Wilson said, his voice echoing in the vast room. "Our most powerful warship with a crew of 5,000 has simply vanished." Murmurs spread through the alien delegates. "How is this possible?" asked the delegate from Proxima, a tall being with translucent skin. "The Dominion has the most advanced tracking systems in the galaxy. Not to mention weapons that could destroy entire continents," added another representative. Wilson stopped pacing and faced the council. "The last transmission we received indicated they were in orbit around Earth, conducting routine surveillance." "Earth?" The Centaurian delegate leaned forward, her scaled face showing disbelief. "The primitive human world? They couldn't possibly have the technology to threaten the Dominion." "Apparently," Wilson said grimly, "our intelligence on Earth may have been incomplete." Silence fell over the chamber as the implication sank in. "If humans possess technology capable of neutralizing our flagship," the Proximan delegate said slowly, "we may be facing a greater threat than we realized." Wilson nodded. "Which is why I've already dispatched investigator Jack Reed to Earth. If anyone can discover what happened to the Dominion, it's him." Jack Reed stared out the viewport of his small scout ship as Earth grew larger in his view. He was a human himself, or at least his ancestors had been, generations ago before they left Earth to join the stars. His family had served the Galactic Union for 3 centuries, and he'd earned his reputation as the Union's best investigator, through 20 years of solving the most difficult cases. But this one felt different, personal somehow. "Computer, review mission parameters," he said. The ship's AI responded in a calm voice. "Primary objective, determine the fate of the Galactic Union warship Dominion, last known position in Earth orbit. Secondary objective, assess potential Earth threat level." Jack ran a hand through his short brown hair. The Dominion wasn't just any ship. It was supposedly indestructible, a perfect blend of technology from the galaxy's most advanced civilizations. Its disappearance had sent shockwaves through the Galactic Union. Some council members were already calling for Earth's immediate quarantine or even preemptive strikes. His ship's communication system chimed. Investigator Reed, Admiral Wilson's holographic form appeared before him. "Have you reached Earth orbit?" "Just arriving now, sir. Beginning stealth procedures." Wilson nodded. "Remember, this is strictly reconnaissance. Make contact only if absolutely necessary. We don't know what we're dealing with." "What exactly am I looking for, sir?" Jack asked. "If the Dominion was destroyed, there should be debris, radiation signatures, something. That's just it, Reed. There's nothing. No debris, no distress signals from escape pods, no radiation. It's as if the ship simply ceased to exist." Jack frowned. "That's impossible." "So was the idea that humans could threaten our most powerful warship," Wilson said grimly. "Find answers, Reed. The entire galaxy is holding its breath." The hologram disappeared, leaving Jack alone with his thoughts as his ship slipped into Earth's atmosphere, cloaked from human detection systems. Below him spread a blue planet, seemingly peaceful and ordinary. Somewhere down there lay the answer to how a primitive world had made the most dangerous ship in the galaxy vanish without a trace, and why the rest of the universe was now terrified of what humans might do next. Jack Reed's small ship touched down in a clearing surrounded by tall pine trees. According to his scans, he was miles from the nearest human settlement, a small town called Pine Ridge. The night air was cool as he stepped onto Earth soil for the first time. His ancestors had left this planet centuries ago, yet something about it felt oddly familiar. The smell of the trees, the sound of wind rustling leaves, the distant call of some night animal, all of it stirred something deep in his genetic memory. Jack tapped his wrist device, activating the ship's cloaking system. The vessel shimmered briefly, then seemed to disappear into the darkness. His scanner indicated the last known coordinates of the Dominion had been directly above this region, before it vanished. "Time to see what humans are really capable of," he muttered to himself as he pulled out a small device that would help him blend in. The molecular restructurer hummed softly as it scanned his features, then projected a field around him that would make his slightly alien appearance. The two large eyes, the faintly blue-tinted skin, looked perfectly human to anyone he encountered. Jack hiked through the woods until he reached a road. His plan was simple: head into town, gather information, and try to determine if the locals knew anything about the missing ship. The Dominion was massive. If it had crashed or been destroyed, someone would have noticed something. Dawn was breaking when Jack reached Pine Ridge. It was smaller than he expected, just a few streets lined with simple buildings. Humans moved, about starting their day without any apparent concern for galactic matters. A sign advertising Mike's Auto Shop caught his attention. According to his research, vehicles were still a primary mode of transportation on Earth, which meant mechanics might be good sources of technical information. The shop was just opening as Jack approached. A man in his 40s with grease-stained hands was unlocking the front door. "Morning," the man said with a friendly nod. "Shop's not quite open yet, but if you're in a hurry, I can take a look at whatever's troubling you." Jack smiled, trying to appear casual. "Thanks, but I don't have a vehicle. I'm actually new in town, just passing through. Name's Jack." "Tom Miller," the man said, offering his hand. "What brings you to Pine Ridge? We don't get many tourists." Jack shook Tom's hand firmly, the way his cultural briefing had instructed. "I'm a researcher. I'm interested in unusual phenomena. There have been reports of strange lights in the sky around here recently." Tom's expression changed almost imperceptibly, a slight tightening around the eyes, a barely noticeable tensing of his shoulders. "Can't say I've noticed anything unusual," he said, his tone still friendly but more careful now. "Though we don't spend much time skywatching in Pine Ridge, too busy keeping things running." Jack noted the reaction. Tom was hiding something. "Mind if I ask you a few more questions? Maybe over coffee? I've been walking all night and could use the caffeine." Tom hesitated, then nodded. "Sure. Diner across the street makes decent coffee. Let me just tell my assistant he's in charge for a bit." The diner was nearly empty. They sat in a booth by the window, and a tired-looking waitress brought 2 cups of black coffee. "So," Tom said after taking a sip, "what kind of researcher are you exactly?" "I specialize in studying unexplained events," Jack said. "Not technically a lie. Particularly those that might have scientific explanations people don't yet understand." Tom nodded slowly. "Like UFOs?" Jack smiled. "Something like that. 2 nights ago, satellites detected an unusual energy pattern over this area. I'm trying to determine what might have caused it." "Satellites," Tom repeated, a hint of amusement in his voice. "Right." Jack leaned forward. "Mr. Miller, I get the feeling you know something about this." Tom set down his cup. "Look, Jack, if that's really your name, Pine Ridge is a quiet town. We like it that way. Whatever you think happened here, you're mistaken." "I didn't say anything happened," Jack pointed out. "Just that there was an energy pattern." Tom stood up. "I need to get back to the shop. Coffee's on me. Enjoy your stay in Pine Ridge, but I'd suggest not asking too many questions. Some folks around here aren't as friendly as I am." Jack watched him leave, more convinced than ever that Tom Miller knew something about the Dominion's disappearance. He finished his coffee, left a small tip from the Earth currency he'd been provided, and headed out to explore the town further. As he walked the streets, Jack noticed small details that seemed out of place for such a supposedly simple settlement. Satellite dishes that were slightly too advanced, power lines that carried more current than they should need. And occasionally, when he passed certain buildings, his scanner picked up faint traces of technology that shouldn't exist on Earth. By mid-afternoon, Jack had circled back to Mike's auto shop. He stood across the street, watching as Tom worked, on an old truck. There was something about the mechanic that didn't add up. The way he handled tools, the precision of his movements. Tom Miller was no ordinary small-town mechanic. Jack's communicator vibrated. He ducked into an alley to answer it. "Reed," Admiral Wilson's voice came through clearly. "Any progress?" "I found something interesting," Jack reported. This town has technology that doesn't match Earth's official development level. Nothing obvious, but it's there if you know what to look for, and there's a local who's definitely hiding something. Do you think they're responsible for the Dominion? Too early to tell, but I'm going to follow this lead. Keep me updated, Wilson ordered. The council is getting restless. Some members are already calling for military action against Earth. That would be premature, Jack cautioned. I agree. That's why I need you to find answers quickly. After ending the communication, Jack noticed something odd. Tom Miller was no longer working on the truck. Instead, he was looking directly at Jack as if he'd known exactly where he was hiding. Tom gestured for Jack to come over. Jack crossed the street, maintaining an appearance of calm. Need some help with that truck? Drop the act, Tom said, quietly. I know you're not human, at least not entirely. Your communication just set off detectors all over town. Jack tensed, ready to defend himself if necessary. Tom raised his hand slightly. I'm not looking for trouble, but if you want answers about what happened to your missing ship, you're going to need to be honest with me. Jack stared at him. How do you know about the ship? Because I helped make it disappear. Tom's eyes held Jack's steadily. And if your people are smart, they'll take it as a warning, not a declaration of war. Where is the Dominion? Jack demanded. Tom glanced around to make sure no one was within earshot. Not here, not gone either. It's elsewhere. If you want. To understand, you'll need to come with me. But leave your communication devices here. Where we're going, you won't want anyone listening in. Jack knew this could be a trap, but his instincts told him Tom was offering real answers. Lead the way. Tom nodded. Meet me at the edge of town at sunset. And Jack, come alone. For both our sakes. As Tom walked back into his shop, Jack was left with the unsettling realization that humans knew far more about the galaxy than the galaxy knew about humans, and that might be the most dangerous imbalance of all. The sun was setting behind the mountains when Jack arrived at the edge of town. Shadows stretched long across the empty road. He had left his communicator hidden in a secure location, as Tom had asked, but he kept his small personal weapon concealed, under his jacket. Trust only went so far. A beat-up truck pulled up beside him. Tom sat in the driver's seat, his face half hidden in shadow. Get in, Tom said, pushing open the passenger door. Jack climbed in, eyes scanning the vehicle's interior. It looked ordinary enough. Worn seats, old controls, a layer of dust on the dashboard. But his trained eye caught small inconsistencies. The engine ran too quietly, and the material of the seats wasn't quite like any fabric he'd seen on Earth. How much do you know about me? Jack asked as Tom drove away from town, heading into the darkening forest. Enough, Tom replied. You're Jack Reed, top investigator for the Galactic Union. Half-human ancestry, which is why they sent you. Your job is to find out what happened to the Dominion and whether Earth poses a threat to the galaxy. Jack didn't bother denying it. And does it? Pose a threat? Tom's hands tightened on the steering wheel. Only to those who threaten us first. They drove in silence for nearly an hour, moving deeper into the wilderness. Finally, Tom turned onto a dirt road barely visible among the trees. After another mile, he stopped in front of what appeared to be an abandoned mining entrance. We walk from here, Tom said, grabbing a flashlight from under his seat. The mine entrance led to a short tunnel that ended at a solid rock wall. Tom placed his hand on a specific spot, and a hidden scanner hummed to life, reading his palm print. The rock wall slid silently open, revealing a modern elevator. Welcome to Sanctuary, Tom said as they stepped inside, one of 63 similar facilities around the world. The elevator descended rapidly. Jack estimated they went down at least half a mile before the doors opened onto a vast underground complex. People moved purposefully through wide corridors lined with advanced technology that would have impressed even the most developed worlds in the Union. This is impossible, Jack muttered. Earth's technological level is supposed to be at least a century behind this. Tom led him through the facility. That's what we wanted you to think. For the past 70 years, we've been carefully managing what the rest of the galaxy knows about us. They entered a large control room filled with holographic displays. One screen showed a three-dimensional model of the Dominion, rotating slowly. "Impressive ship," Tom remarked. "Planet-killer weapons, stealth technology, quantum shields. Your people really weren't taking any chances with us." "The Dominion was on a surveillance mission," Jack said defensively. Tom gave him a look of pure disbelief. "A surveillance mission? With your most powerful warship? We've been monitoring galactic communications for decades, Jack. We know the Dominion was here to assess whether Earth should be neutralized before we became a potential threat." Jack wanted to argue but couldn't. He hadn't been briefed on the Dominion's full mission parameters, but Tom's words rang true. "How did humans advance so quickly?" he asked instead. "The historical records show your people only achieved basic spaceflight less than a century ago." Tom gestured for Jack to follow him into a smaller room. At its center stood a display case containing what looked like fragments of twisted metal with strange markings. "In 1947, something crashed in a place called Roswell," Tom explained. "Not the first alien vessel to reach Earth, but the first one. We managed to recover mostly intact. It wasn't from your union, it was from somewhere much farther away. The technology inside was beyond anything we could comprehend at the time, but we learned. We adapted. We kept it secret." Jack examined the fragments. "You reverse-engineered alien technology." "We did more than that," Tom said. "We improved it. Humans have a unique talent for seeing possibilities others miss. While the galaxy was watching our official space program struggle with simple rockets, we were building this." He swept his arm around, indicating the entire facility. A woman entered the room, carrying a tablet. "The displacement field is stable, Tom. The ship remains in the pocket dimension, but we're detecting increased attempts to scan for it." "Thanks, Lisa." Tom nodded. "Jack, this is Dr. Lisa Bell, our head physicist. She designed the system that removed the Dominion from our reality." Jack stared at Lisa. "You created a pocket dimension? That's beyond even the most advanced Union technology." Lisa smiled slightly. "Not a true pocket dimension, more like a fold in space-time. The ship exists in a state of quantum uncertainty. Neither fully here nor fully gone. We call it phase shifting." "Can you bring it back?" Jack asked. "Of course," Tom said. "That's the point. We didn't destroy your ship because we don't want war. We just wanted to send a message, leave us alone." Jack's mind raced with the implications. Earth wasn't just technologically advanced. It possessed technology the Union had never even theorized. If humans could remove a warship from reality, with the push of a button, what else could they do? "There's more you need to see," Tom said, leading Jack from the room. They walked through a massive hangar where workers were constructing sleek vessels unlike any Jack had seen before. "Our first fleet of deep space explorers," Tom explained. "Powered by drive systems based on principles your scientists haven't discovered yet. Faster than your best ships, with defenses even the Dominion couldn't penetrate." "You're preparing for war," Jack said grimly. Tom shook his head. "We're preparing to defend ourselves if necessary, but we prefer peace. Earth wants to join the galactic community, but as equals, not as subjects." They reached another control room. A large screen showed the Dominion, suspended in what looked like swirling gray mist. "There's your missing ship," Tom said. "Crew is fine. They're in a state of temporal suspension. They don't even know anything happened." "Why are you showing me all this?" Jack asked. "You could have just denied everything." Tom leaned against a console. "Because I need you to deliver a message to your admiral and the council. Earth is ready to return the Dominion and establish peaceful relations with the Union, but on our terms. We won't be colonized, controlled, or guided by your people. We've seen how the Union treats developing worlds, turning them into resource planets or tourist destinations. That won't happen here." Jack felt a strange mix of emotions: pride in his human ancestors' ingenuity, fear of what this meant for the galaxy's future, and somewhere deep inside a sense that Earth deserved the right to determine its own path. "What if the Council refuses your terms?" he asked. Tom's expression hardened. "Then we'll release the Dominion as a gesture of good faith, but we'll also release full details of this technology to every world in the Union. Think about what would happen if every planet could suddenly shield themselves from Union ships. Your carefully managed galactic order would collapse overnight. It wasn't just a threat. It was a promise. Jack realized that Earth might be the most dangerous world in the galaxy, not because it wanted war, but because it had the power to completely change the rules. "I'll deliver your message," Jack said finally, "but it won't be easy for them to accept." "Nothing worth doing ever is," Tom replied. "The question is whether the galaxy is ready to accept that humans aren't the primitive species they thought we were." Admiral Wilson's face grew increasingly pale as Jack delivered his report. They sat in the Admiral's private quarters aboard the Union command ship Vigilance, which had moved to the edge of Earth's solar system after Jack's urgent request for a meeting. "This can't be possible," Wilson said, rising from his chair to pace the room. "You're telling me that humans have technology that surpasses our own? That they can simply remove our most powerful warship from reality?" "I've seen it with my own eyes," Jack confirmed. "They call it phase shifting. The Dominion exists in a fold of space-time, neither fully here nor gone, and that's just one of their advancements." Wilson stopped pacing. "Could they be bluffing? Showing you prototypes or theoretical models that don't actually work?" "The Dominion is proof they're not bluffing," Jack pointed out. "And there's more. They've been monitoring our communications for decades. They knew the Dominion wasn't just on a surveillance mission." Wilson's jaw tightened. "That was classified at the highest level." "Yet they knew," Jack said. "They also have ships ready to launch, faster and more advanced than ours according to what they showed me." The Admiral sank back into his chair. "How did we miss this? Our intelligence indicated Earth was at least a century away from achieving interstellar travel. That's what they wanted us to think. They've been hiding their true capabilities since they recovered alien technology from a crash in the mid-20th century. And now they want to join the Union," Wilson said, shaking his head. "As equals." "As equals," Jack confirmed. "With full voting rights in the Council and protected status for Earth. They won't accept being classified as a developing world or having Union oversight of their technology." Wilson's expression darkened. "The Council will never agree to those terms." "No. World enters the Union as a full member. There's a process. Evaluation periods, technology sharing, cultural integration. It takes decades." "Earth isn't asking," Jack said quietly. "They're demanding. If the Union refuses, they'll release the Dominion as a show of good faith, but they'll also share their phase-shifting technology with every world in the Union." "That would be chaos," Wilson whispered. "If every planet could shield themselves from Union ships, our authority would collapse overnight." "Exactly," Jack nodded. "This isn't just about Earth. It's about the entire structure of galactic power." "The Tau." Admiral stared at the star map on his wall, lost in thought. "I need to convene an emergency council session. This goes beyond my authority." 3 days later, Jack stood at attention in the great chamber of the Galactic Council. Representatives from all 17 member species were present, their faces showing varying degrees of shock, anger, and fear as Admiral Wilson concluded his briefing. "This human ultimatum is unacceptable," declared the Proximan delegate, his translucent skin flushing purple with anger. "We cannot allow a single planet to dictate terms to the entire Union." "How do we know they're not bluffing?" asked the representative from Sirius. "Perhaps they got lucky with the Dominion, but that doesn't mean they have the capability to do more. Our investigator has confirmed their technological level," Wilson replied, "and the continued absence of the Dominion supports their claims." The Centaurian delegate leaned forward. "Then perhaps we should demonstrate our own power. The Union fleet could surround Earth, demand the return of the Dominion, and threaten consequences." Jack stepped forward. "With respect, delegate, such actions would likely trigger exactly what we fear. Earth has made it clear they would rather share their technology with every world than submit to threats. Then we neutralize them before they can act," the Proximan said coldly. A murmur ran through the chamber. Even in the face of this crisis, the suggestion of destroying an inhabited world was shocking. The eldest member of the council, a Canopian whose species had been spacefaring for 10,000 years, raised his hand for silence. "I have seen many worlds rise to join our community," he said, his voice carrying surprising strength for his ancient frame. "Never have we faced one that held such leverage before even making contact. Perhaps that is our failure, not theirs." He turned to Jack. "Investigator Reed, you have human ancestry. What is your assessment of Earth's true intentions?" Jack considered, his words carefully. "I believe they genuinely want peace. They could have destroyed the Dominion, but they chose to preserve it and its crew. They're not seeking war. They're seeking respect. They know the Union's history of guiding developing worlds in directions that benefit the Union more than the worlds themselves." The Canopian nodded slowly. "And if we refuse their terms, then we risk not just losing our authority over Earth," Jack said, "but our authority throughout the galaxy." The chamber erupted in heated debate. Some delegates insisted on military action, others suggested negotiations to water down Earth's demands, and a few wondered aloud if Earth's technology could benefit the entire Union if properly shared. After hours of argument, Admiral Wilson called for order. "We must respond to Earth's message," and he said. "The longer we delay, the more time they have to prepare alternatives." The Council voted to send a delegation to Earth, led by Wilson himself, with Jack as the intermediary. They would offer modified terms. Earth would enter the Union with provisional member status, accelerated to full membership in 10 years instead of the usual 50, with guarantees of non-interference in their internal development. 3 days. Later, Jack sat across from Tom Miller in an elegant conference room in Washington, D.C. Behind Tom sat 5 humans representing Earth's major regions. Behind Jack sat Admiral Wilson and 4 senior council members. "Your counteroffer is noted," Tom said after Wilson presented the council's proposal. "But it doesn't address our core concern. Provisional membership still places Earth under Union authority, when we've already demonstrated we don't require your guidance." "The Union has procedures," Wilson insisted. "No world has ever skipped provisional status. No world has ever removed your flagship from reality," one of the Earth representatives responded. "We've earned our place at the table." The tension in the room was thick enough to cut with a knife. Jack could see Wilson's frustration mounting. The Admiral was used to dealing from a position of power, not negotiating with equals. "Perhaps we should discuss the specifics of what provisional status would entail," Jack suggested, trying to ease the standoff. For the next several hours, the two sides went back and forth, outlining points of contention and possible compromises. The Earth delegation remained firm on their core demands: full membership, no technology oversight, and guaranteed non-interference. As the day wore on, both sides grew increasingly frustrated. Finally, Tom looked directly at Wilson. "Let me be clear, Admiral. Earth has lived in the shadow of potential alien conquest for over 70 years. We've prepared accordingly. We don't want war, but we will not accept second-class status in the galaxy, not when we've proven our capabilities." Wilson's expression hardened. "And the Union cannot appear to bend its most fundamental rules because of coercion." "Then we seem to be at an impasse," Tom said. Jack felt the weight of the moment. The future of Earth-Union relations, perhaps the future of the Union itself, hung in the balance. "May I suggest a recess?" he said. "Perhaps after everyone has had time to consider the implications, we can find a path forward." Both sides agreed, though with visible reluctance. As they filed out of the room, Admiral Wilson pulled Jack aside. "This isn't going well," he said quietly. "The Council is discussing alternative measures if negotiations fail." Jack felt a chill. "Military action would be a grave mistake." "I agree," Wilson said, surprising Jack. "But I don't control the entire Council. If we don't find a solution soon, those calling for more drastic steps may gain the upper hand." Jack watched the Earth delegation conferring in a corner, their expressions serious. He knew both sides were weighing their options, and that the peace of the galaxy hung in the balance. The morning sun streamed through the windows of the conference room as negotiations resumed. The atmosphere was tense, with both Earth and Union delegates looking tired after a night of separate strategy sessions. Jack had spent the night shuttling between the two groups trying to find common ground. He now stood at the center of the room addressing everyone present. "Before we continue where we left off," he said, "I'd like to propose a different approach." All eyes turned to him. As the only person with ties to both Earth and the Union, Jack had a unique perspective that neither side could claim. "The core issue isn't really about membership status or regulations," Jack continued. "It's about trust and respect. The Union doesn't trust that Earth will use its advanced technology responsibly without supervision. Earth doesn't trust that the Union will respect its sovereignty." Admiral Wilson frowned. "The Union has protocols for a reason. We've seen what happens when worlds with advanced technology act without coordination." "And Earth has kept its technology secret for a reason," Tom countered. "We've seen how the Union treats worlds it considers less advanced." Jack nodded to both of them. "Exactly my point. Neither side trusts the other's intentions. So let's address that directly." He turned to Tom. "Earth wants recognition as an equal and protection from interference. What if the Union granted Earth special status, not as a provisional member but as an independent allied world? Full voting rights in the Council, no oversight of internal affairs, but with agreements to collaborate on technology that could affect galactic stability?" Tom's expression showed interest. "Go on," Jack turned to Wilson. "The Union's greatest concern is that Earth's technology could destabilize the galactic order if widely shared. What if Earth agreed to certain limitations on technology distribution, not because the Union demands it, but as part of mutual security agreements that all members follow?" Wilson exchanged glances with the other Union delegates. "It would be unprecedented." "So is Earth's situation," Jack pointed out. "Sometimes new problems require new solutions." For the next several hours, the two sides explored Jack's proposal. The independent allied world status would give Earth the recognition and protection it wanted, while addressing the Union's concerns about stability. Earth would maintain control of its phase-shifting technology, but agree to use it defensively only. The Union would acknowledge Earth's right to develop its own path, while Earth would respect certain galactic standards on potentially destructive technologies. By mid-afternoon, the outlines of an agreement began to take shape. Admiral Wilson conferred with the Council via secure channel, while the Earth delegation discussed terms among themselves. "There's one more issue we need to address," Tom said after these consultations. "The Dominion." Wilson nodded. "Yes, the Union requires its return as part of any agreement." "We're prepared to release it," Tom replied, "but under certain conditions. First, we want guarantees that no Union warships will enter Earth's solar system without prior notification and permission, except in case of genuine emergencies." "Reasonable," Wilson agreed after a moment's consideration. "Second," Tom continued, "we want access to certain Union databases, scientific knowledge, star charts, cultural records, not military information, but the knowledge that any full member would have." Wilson frowned. "That's typically granted gradually during the provisional period." "Which Earth is skipping," Tom said firmly. "Knowledge sharing should go both ways." After some negotiation, Wilson agreed to limited database access that would expand over 5 years, rather than the typical 50. "There's one final matter," Jack said, looking at both sides. "The crew of the Dominion has been in temporal suspension for weeks now. When they're released, they'll have no idea what happened or why. How do we explain this to them and to the rest of the galaxy?" This sparked a new round of discussion. Eventually, they decided on a carefully worded announcement. The Dominion had encountered an unknown spatial anomaly while surveying Earth. Through joint efforts by Union and Earth scientists, the ship had been recovered. This explanation would save face for the Union while establishing Earth's technical capabilities without revealing the full extent of their technology. 2 days later, Jack stood with Tom and Admiral Wilson on a hilltop overlooking a vast empty field. Below them, scientists from both Earth and the Union made final preparations. "Are you sure this will work?" Wilson asked, eyeing the complex array of equipment the humans had set up. We've done extensive testing, Tom assured him. The phase shift will reverse exactly as planned. Jack felt a strange mix of emotions. The negotiations had succeeded beyond his expectations. Earth would enter the galactic community on its own terms, neither conquering nor conquered. The Union would gain a powerful new ally rather than a dangerous rival. It wasn't the solution either side had originally wanted, but perhaps it was better than both. Initiating phase reversal in 30 seconds, announced Dr. Lisa Bell over the communication system. The equipment below hummed to life. Energy readings spiked on the monitors. The air above the field seemed to shimmer and distort. Something's happening, Wilson said, tension evident in his voice. The distortion grew more pronounced. Then, with a flash of light and a thunderous sound that shook the ground beneath their feet, the massive form of the Dominion appeared in the sky. For a moment it hung there, a dark silhouette against the blue. Then gently, it lowered to the ground as Earth's gravity took hold. Remarkable, Wilson breathed. Phase shift successfully reversed, Lisa reported. The ship's systems are coming back online. Crew life signs are normal. Tom turned to Wilson. Your ship is returned, Admiral, as promised. The crew will wake with no memory of what happened. As far as they're concerned, only a few seconds have passed, Wilson nodded. Thank you. I'll board immediately to help explain the situation to Commander Dex. As Wilson walked toward the newly returned ship, Tom turned to Jack. What will you do now? He asked. Return to the Union or stay on Earth? Jack looked out at the field where humans and Union representatives were already beginning to work together, studying the effects of the phase shift and establishing communications with the Dominion. I think I'm needed here, he said. Someone has to help bridge these two worlds. My human ancestors gave me a connection to Earth. My life in the Union gives me understanding of the galaxy. Perhaps this is what I was meant to do. Tom smiled. Earth could use someone who understands both sides. As they watched, the Dominion's main hatch opened. Commander Dex emerged, looking confused but unharmed, with Admiral Wilson at his side. Earth's most advanced ships remained hidden in their underground hangars, a precaution that both Tom and Jack had agreed was wise. Trust would take time to build. Do you think it will work? Jack asked. This alliance between Earth and the Union, it won't be easy, Tom admitted. There will be skeptics on both sides. Some humans will worry about alien influence. Some Union species will resist treating humans as equals. But I believe it's possible. Jack nodded. The beginning of a new chapter in galactic history, and perhaps a better one, Tom added. One where advancement isn't measured by who has the biggest warship, but by who can find new solutions to old problems. As the sun began to set, casting long shadows across the field, Jack felt a sense of hope. The dangerous ship that had vanished on Earth had returned, but the true significance was what had happened in between. A world that had been deemed primitive had proven its worth. A galactic power that had never been challenged had learned to compromise. And somewhere in the vast cosmos, other worlds were watching, wondering what this new balance of power might mean for their own futures in a galaxy where the rules had suddenly changed. The massive Galactic Council exploration ship Eternal Discovery slowed as it approached the dark shape floating against the backdrop of stars. Captain Moores stood on the bridge, his 4 eyes narrowed as he studied the readings on the main screen. Confirm those readings, he ordered, his pale blue skin wrinkling with concern. Officer Trell, a slender being with scale-like skin, tapped rapidly on her console. Confirmed, Captain. The vessel matches no known design in our database, and the environmental readings. She paused, double-checking her instruments. Sir, the radiation levels alone would kill most species within minutes. Captain Moores's antenna twitched with excitement. The Galactic Council rewarded new discoveries generously, and a mysterious ship of unknown origin could mean a significant promotion. Classification? He asked. Based on environmental hazards, toxic atmosphere composition, radiation levels, and temperature fluctuations, it registers as a Class 210 Death World ship, Trell replied, her voice dropping to a whisper. The bridge, fell silent. Class 210 was a designation reserved for only the most hostile and dangerous environments in known space. Most species in the Galactic Council couldn't survive even brief exposure to such conditions. "Notify Council headquarters," Moore said, trying to keep his voice steady, "and prepare a salvage team. Full environmental protection protocols." 6 hours later, representatives from 3 species gathered in the Eternal Discovery's preparation bay. Captain Moores of the Trillion supervised as his crew donned their most advanced environmental suits. Beside him stood Commander Lin of the Kadar forces, her reptilian features set in a permanent scowl, and Science Officer Pax of the Vox, whose translucent skin revealed the nervous fluttering of his internal organs. "These suits cost more than most starships," Lin said, watching her soldiers prepare. "They better hold against whatever's on that death trap." "The ship appears to be thousands of years old," Pax said, checking readings on his wrist device. "Likely abandoned after whatever catastrophic event created such hostile internal conditions." Captain Mords nodded, watching as the final preparations were made. "Remember, we're looking for technology, design elements, anything that might be valuable to the Council. But safety is priority 1. At the first sign of suit failure, you return immediately." The boarding team of 12, 4 from each species, completed their preparations. Their suits were bulky masterpieces of engineering, designed to withstand extreme conditions for up to 8 hours. As the team entered the shuttle that would take them to the derelict vessel, Officer Trell approached Captain Moores. "Sir," she said quietly, "we're detecting something unusual." "Define unusual," Moores replied. "Movement inside the ship, and energy signatures that suggest some systems might still be operational." Moores felt his heart race. "After thousands of years?" "That's what the readings indicate, sir." The shuttle docked with the ancient vessel with a metallic clunk. The boarding team activated their suits' external lights, illuminating the dark, dusty airlock they had attached to. "Atmosphere is toxic," reported Vril, the Vox technician. "Radiation levels are extremely high. Our suits are holding, but I wouldn't recommend staying longer than 4 hours." Commander Lin took the lead, her weapon ready. "Let's move quickly then." They forced open the inner airlock door, revealing a long, dark corridor. Strange symbols covered the walls, unlike any language known to the Council. The team moved forward, cautiously, their heavy boots clanking against the metal floor. "These designs," Pax said, studying the ship's interior, "they're built for durability, not comfort. Whoever made this vessel expected it to take significant damage." "A warship?" asked Lin. "Most likely," Pax agreed. They continued deeper into the ship, passing rooms filled with equipment too damaged to identify. But as they approached what seemed to be the center of the vessel, things changed. The dust was less thick. Some lights flickered weakly in the ceiling. "Is it just me?" asked Trell. "Or does it look like someone's been here recently?" Before anyone could answer, a loud clanging sound echoed down the corridor ahead of them. The team froze, weapons raised. "That was not a random systems failure," Lin whispered. Another sound followed, something that almost resembled speech, but in no language they recognized. "We should call for backup," suggested Vril, his transparent skin now a pale yellow with fear. "No," said Mortz firmly. "Whatever's making that noise, we need to see it. This is first contact protocol now." They moved forward slowly, following the sounds to a large doorway. The door was partially open, and light, actual light, spilled out from inside. Moores signaled, and the team took positions on either side of the door. With a nod, Lin pushed it fully open and they rushed in, weapons ready. What they saw made them stop in confusion. The room was clearly the ship's bridge. Ancient control panels lined the walls, many now active with blinking lights. In the center of the room stood a group of beings they had never encountered before. They wore what looked like simplified environmental suits, far less advanced than what the council team wore, with clear helmets that revealed pink-skinned, furry-topped creatures with only 2 eyes and bizarre, flat features. Most shocking of all, these creatures were working on the ship's systems, using tools to repair damaged components. A container sat on one console, and one of the creatures was actually consuming something from a cylindrical object. The aliens looked up as the council team burst in, but showed no sign of alarm. Instead, they seemed annoyed at the interruption. The tallest of the strange beings set down a tool and stepped forward. Inside its simple helmet, its mouth moved and a rough, deep sound emerged. A translator in Mortz's suit attempted to process the sounds, finally producing, "About time you folks showed up. We've been expecting company." The council team stood frozen, in shock. These creatures were not only surviving in conditions that should have killed them instantly, they were working as if the deadly environment was merely an inconvenience. Who are you?" Moores finally managed to ask. The creature made a gesture with its upper limbs. "Name's Jack. Human. Earth Special Projects Division." It pointed to the others. "That's Mike, that's Dana, and the one drinking coffee is Tom." "Humans?" Pax whispered, frantically checking his database. No record of this species in council archives. Jack seemed amused by their confusion. "Yeah, we tend to fly under the radar. Been that way for a while." "How are you surviving these conditions?" Lynn demanded, gesturing at their relatively simple, protective gear. "This is a Class 210 Death World environment." The human called Jack made a sound that the translator identified as laughter. This is nothing. You should visit Earth sometime, though you'd probably need better suits than those fancy bubbles you're wearing." The human called Tom joined Jack holding his drinking container. "We found this old girl drifting about 3 months ago. Been fixing her up since then. Got most of the weapons systems back online already." "Weapons?" Moores asked, suddenly alarmed. "Yeah," Jack said, his expression turning serious. "You're going to need them, we all are, that's why we're here." "I don't understand," Moores said. Jack looked at each of the council representatives, then at his fellow humans before speaking again. "War's coming," he said simply. "Something nasty that hibernates in deep space for a few thousand years, then wakes up hungry. Your people call it the Void. It's headed this way, and this ship is one of the few things that can hurt it." Commander Lynn stepped forward aggressively. "This vessel falls under Galactic Council jurisdiction now. Whatever information you have." Jack held up a hand, stopping her mid-sentence. "Let's get something straight. We found this ship, we fixed this ship, and more importantly," he pointed at a symbol etched into one wall, then at a similar mark on his suit. "This ship recognizes us. So how about we start with formal introductions, and then you can tell your council they're going to want to make some new friends. Fast." The council team looked at each other in confusion and growing concern. The universe as they knew it had just changed forever, and the humans didn't even seem impressed. Captain Moores and the alien delegation sat across from the humans in what appeared to be the ship's meeting room. The lighting was dim, and warning symbols flashed on the walls. According to their suit readings, the radiation in this room alone was enough to kill most council species within hours, yet the humans had removed their helmets. "You can't possibly survive these conditions," Science Officer Pax said, his translucent skin pulsing with confusion. The human female called Dana smiled and pushed a strand of yellow hair behind her ear. "The radiation? It's not great, but it's comparable to what we get in deep mining operations back home. Short-term exposure is manageable." "Manageable?" Commander Lynn's voice rose sharply. "Our suits are alerting us to lethal conditions." Jack shrugged. "Different biology, different tolerances. We've got good radiation resistance compared to most species we've encountered." Moores tried to process this information. "Where is this Earth? Why have we never cataloged your species?" Tom, the stockier human, laughed. "We're in what you folks call the dead zone, that area of space your ships avoid because of the high radiation, extreme gravity wells, and unstable stellar activity." "Nothing can evolve in the dead zone," Pax argued. "It's scientifically impossible." "And yet here we are," Jack said with a smile. "Earth makes this ship look like a vacation spot. By your classification system, Earth would be—" Dana tapped on a small device. "Class 240 Death World, approximately." The aliens fell silent, their translator devices struggling to convey their shock. Impossible, Lynn finally whispered. I think our definitions of impossible might differ, Jack replied. Look, we don't have time for a biology lecture. This ship is important and we need to work together. Morse's antenna quivered with both fear and curiosity. Tell us about this war you mentioned. Jack nodded to Dana, who activated a holographic display in the center of the table. A swirling darkness appeared, moving between stars. We call it the void, she explained. It's not a species like you or us, it's something older. It consumes energy from stars, planets, living things. It hibernates for thousands of years, then wakes hungry. This is a myth, Commander Lynn said dismissively. A space legend told to frighten younglings. You wish, Tom replied, his face serious now. We detected its energy signature 3 Earth months ago when it consumed a star system at the edge of what you call Sector 17. Pax's skin turned almost transparent with alarm. Sector 17 reported unusual stellar activity recently. 3 systems went dark. Not dark, Jack corrected. Gone. Completely gone. Before the aliens could respond, a new voice filled the room, deep, resonant, and clearly artificial. Genetic match confirmed. Access granted to command functions. The walls around them lit up with new displays. The ship was waking up. What's happening? Morse demanded. Jack smiled. The ship's AI is fully online now. It's been partially active since we arrived, but it needed time to verify our DNA. Your DNA? Why would an ancient ship recognize human genetic code? Pax asked. A holographic figure appeared at the head of the table, tall, humanoid, but with features that seemed both familiar and alien. Because they are the descendants, the AI said. The inheritors of the progenitor legacy. The humans looked as surprised as the aliens. We suspected something like this, Dana said quietly. The ship's controls were too intuitive for us. Almost like they were designed for human hands, the AI nodded. This vessel was constructed by the progenitors to combat the void during its last awakening cycle. The progenitors seeded many worlds with their genetic material before the final battle. Earth was one such world. You're saying humans are descendants of the warriors who built this ship? Morse asked, trying to grasp the implications. Partial descendants, the AI corrected. The progenitor genetic material merged with Earth's evolving life. The result was a species with remarkable adaptability and resistance to environmental extremes. Tom laughed. So that's why we can handle all this radiation and toxic air? We've got ancient alien super soldier DNA? Your natural evolution on a high-gravity, radiation-exposed planet with diverse environmental hazards enhanced these traits, the AI explained. The progenitors would be impressed. Jack turned back to the aliens. This changes the situation. Your council needs to know what we're facing and what this ship means. Commander Lynn, still skeptical, leaned forward. Why should we believe any of this? You could have programmed this AI to tell us whatever story you wanted. As if in answer, the ship trembled, lights flickered, and new alerts appeared on the walls. Incoming transmission, the AI announced. Galactic Council emergency broadcast. A new hologram appeared, a Vox Admiral, his skin pulsing with urgent patterns. Eternal discovery. This is Admiral Keth. Respond immediately. We have a critical situation. Captain Moritz activated his communication system. This is Captain Moritz. We are aboard the ancient vessel with representatives from an unknown species called humans. The Admiral barely acknowledged this surprising information. Captain, 3 Outer Rim colonies have gone silent in the past 12 hours. Our scout ships report total planetary consumption. The stars, the planets, everything's just gone. The Council is declaring an Omega-level emergency. The hologram flickered out as the transmission ended. Jack looked at the stunned aliens. The void is awake and feeding. It's moving faster than we anticipated. How do you know so much about this threat? Morse demanded, suspicion mixing with fear. Dana stood and walked to a wall panel. She pressed several controls, and a star map, appeared showing a bright point labeled Earth and a dark spreading shadow moving through space. "Because it's coming for us," she said quietly. "Its path leads directly to our solar system. We've been tracking it since we detected the first energy anomalies." "Why would it target your world specifically?" Pax asked. The AI answered, "Earth's biosphere contains more diverse energy patterns than most life-bearing worlds. The void is drawn to such diversity." Jack's face hardened. "We found mentions of the void in ancient Earth myths, stories about a darkness between stars that devours worlds. When our deep space sensors detected something matching those descriptions, we started searching for answers." "And you found this ship," Moores concluded. "Not by accident," Tom added. "The ship was sending out a signal, very weak, very specific frequency, only detectable by systems using certain progenitor-derived technology. Like the technology we reverse-engineered from artifacts found on Earth," Dana explained. "We didn't know what the signal meant, but we followed it. Commander Lin finally seemed to be taking the humans seriously." "So your people sent you to investigate this ship because you believed a legendary space monster was coming to eat your planet?" "Pretty much," Jack nodded. "We're practical that way. The Galactic Council has millions of ships, advanced technology, thousands of member species," Pax said. "Yet you think this one ancient vessel is your best defense?" The AI's hologram gestured, and new displays showed the ship's weapon systems, strange, complex designs unlike anything the Council used. "This vessel was specifically designed to combat the void," it stated. "Conventional weapons cannot harm it. It exists partially outside normal space-time." A communication alert chimed from Tom's wrist device. He checked it and looked up at Jack. "Admiral Taylor has arrived with the second team. The Horizon is docking now." Jack nodded and turned to the aliens. "More of our people are here with supplies and equipment. I suggest you contact your council and arrange for proper diplomatic channels. This just became a formal first contact situation in the middle of a war emergency." Captain Moores felt overwhelmed but tried to maintain his authority. "This vessel falls under council jurisdiction. We cannot simply allow an unknown species to take control of it." Jack's expression hardened. "Captain, with all due respect, we already have control of it. The ship's AI recognizes us as the rightful inheritors. But we're not looking to fight you. We want to work together." "Why?" Lin asked suspiciously. "Because the void doesn't care what planet you're from," Jack replied simply. "It'll consume everything in its path. Earth, your council worlds, everything. We need each other." The door to the meeting room slid open, and a tall, imposing human female entered. Her uniform was more elaborate than the others, with gleaming symbols on the shoulders. Behind her came more humans carrying equipment. "Admiral Taylor," Jack said, standing at attention. "Meet Captain Moores of the Galactic Council exploration vessel Eternal Discovery." Admiral Taylor surveyed the aliens with sharp eyes, then nodded. "Captain, I understand we have a lot to discuss and not much time to do it. The void has accelerated its feeding cycle. At current speeds, it will reach Earth in less than 30 days. Moores looked at the confident humans, at the ancient AI, and at his own team's worried expressions. The universe had suddenly become much more dangerous and strange than anything in the Council's extensive databases had prepared him for. And humanity, a species that evolved on a world more deadly than any in known space, might be their only hope of survival. The next 12 hours aboard the ancient ship were tense. Human engineers worked side by side with reluctant Galactic Council technicians. Admiral Taylor had established a command center in what was once the ship's main bridge, while Captain Moores was in constant communication with Council headquarters. "They don't believe us," Moores said, his antenna drooping with frustration as he returned from another call. "The High Council thinks this is either a misunderstanding or some elaborate trick." Admiral Taylor looked up from a holographic display where she had been studying the ship's weapon systems with Dana. "They'll believe when the void reaches their territory. Unfortunately, that might be too late." The ship's AI, which the humans had nicknamed Atlas, materialized beside them. "I have completed the historical records transfer. All data on previous encounters with the Void is now available. Jack, Tom, and the galactic aliens gathered around the central display table. Atlas projected a timeline showing encounters with the Void stretching back nearly 100,000 years. The cycle is consistent, Atlas explained. The Void hibernates for approximately 5,000 years, then awakens and feeds for a period of 50 to 60 years before returning to hibernation. What exactly is it? Commander Lin asked, her scales shifting color with unease. Atlas displayed a swirling mass of darkness that seemed to bend light around it. The Void is not entirely of this universe. It exists partially in what the progenitors called null space, a region beyond conventional physics. It feeds on energy in all forms, from stars, planets, and living beings. Can it be reasoned with? Pax asked. Tom let out a short laugh. Can you reason with a hurricane or a black hole? Atlas confirmed. The Void shows no signs of sentience, as you would understand it. It is a force of nature, albeit one with purpose it consumes to survive. Admiral Taylor pointed to marks on the timeline. These represent battles? Yes, Atlas said. The progenitors fought the Void across 27 star systems during its last feeding cycle. They used vessels like this one, designed to channel specific energy frequencies that can harm the Void's physical manifestation. Jack studied the battle records. How successful were they? Atlas's holographic face remained neutral, but his voice seemed to carry a note of sadness. They could not destroy the Void. The best outcome was forcing it back into hibernation before it consumed too many inhabited worlds. And the progenitors? Dana asked quietly. What happened to them? They sacrificed their home system, Atlas replied. They created a massive energy trap that forced the Void into early hibernation, but the process destroyed their civilization. The survivors scattered to seeded worlds like Earth. A heavy silence fell over the room. So that's our best-case scenario? Commander Lin said. Sacrifice entire star systems just to put this thing to sleep for another 5,000 years? No, Jack said firmly. The progenitors didn't have what we have. Which is? Morse asked. Jack gestured around them. This ship, for one. Their knowledge. And something they didn't have. Allies. Admiral Taylor nodded. If we combine this ship's technology with modern innovations from both humans and the Council, we might find a better solution. A new alert sounded, and Tom checked the sensor readings. We've got company. Big company. The main screen showed a massive fleet of ships approaching their position, sleek, gleaming vessels that dwarfed both the human ships and the Eternal Discovery. The Council Emergency Response Fleet, Pax explained. They must have taken our warning seriously after all. Admiral Taylor didn't look relieved. Atlas, scan those ships. Are they approaching an attack formation? Atlas paused, then confirmed. Their weapons systems are activated. They are preparing to fire on this vessel. Moores looked shocked. That's impossible. Why would they attack? A communication request flashed on the screen. Admiral Taylor nodded and a new hologram appeared. A tall, thin alien with elaborate robes and cybernetic implants. High Counselor Zax, Moore said, bowing slightly. The High Counselor ignored him, focusing on the humans. Unidentified species, you have illegally seized a dangerous artifact under Council protection. You will surrender the vessel immediately, or be destroyed. Jack stepped forward. High Counselor, we're not seizing anything. We're trying to prepare for a threat that could destroy all our worlds. If you scan the ship, you'll see it's recognized our genetic connection to its builders. Irrelevant, Zax replied coldly. The ship is in Council space. Our scientists will study both the vessel and the Void situation. Your species is unregistered and unauthorized for first contact procedures. Donna murmured to Admiral Taylor. They don't get it. They think this is about politics. Admiral Taylor addressed the High Counselor directly. With respect, there isn't time for bureaucracy. The Void has already consumed 3 of your outer colonies. We have 30 days before it. Reaches populated systems. 28 days, Atlas corrected. Its acceleration continues to increase. High Counselor Zax's expression hardened. Your primitive species cannot possibly understand. He was interrupted as every screen in the room suddenly flashed red. New data poured across the displays. "What's happening?" Commander Lin demanded. Atlas's voice was urgent. "Long-range sensors detect a massive energy disturbance. The void has changed course. It's moving much faster than predicted." The main screen showed a star system with 4 planets. As they watched, a darkness spread across the system. One by one, the planets disappeared from the sensors. Finally, the star itself flickered and vanished. That's the Marduk system," Pax whispered. "Population of over 3 billion. High Counselor Zax's hologram showed the aliens' shock. "Impossible. The Marduk system is one of our strongest military outposts." "Was," Jack corrected quietly. "It's gone now." Admiral Taylor turned to Atlas. "Revised timeline?" The AI's calculations appeared on a side screen. "At current velocity, the void will reach Earth in 12 days. It will encounter 14 Council worlds before that." The High Counselor's arrogance vanished. "We need to evacuate those systems immediately." "You can't evacuate 14 worlds in 12 days, Tom said, shaking his head. "We need to fight." High Counselor Zax looked at the humans with new respect. "Our weapons had no effect on the anomaly at Marduk's. What makes you think this old ship can do better?" Jack gestured to Atlas. "Show them." Atlas displayed schematics of the ship's main weapon system. "This vessel generates specific energy frequencies that can disrupt the void's connection to our space-time. It cannot destroy the void, but it can repel it." "One ship against something that eats stars?" "Commander." Lin scoffed. "That's suicide." Admiral Taylor smiled for the first time. "Who said anything about one ship?" She nodded to Dana, who activated her communication device. A new hologram appeared, showing a massive shipyard hidden in an asteroid field. Humans worked frantically on dozens of partially completed vessels. "We've been building," Admiral Taylor explained. "Since we found this ship 3 months ago, we've been replicating its technology. We have 15 smaller vessels almost ready." The Council aliens stared in disbelief. "How?" Morse began. "How did your species move so quickly?" Tom laughed. "When someone tells humans a space monster is coming to eat our planet, we don't form committees. We build weapons." High Counselor Zax studied the shipyard footage. "These vessels, they cannot possibly be as effective as the original." "They're not," Jack admitted. "They're just the delivery system. The real weapon is something else entirely." Admiral Taylor nodded to Atlas, who displayed a new schematic, a complex device small enough to fit in a human hand. "We call it the Dreamcatcher," she explained. "Based on the original ship's technology, but modified. Instead of just repelling the void, it forces it into accelerated hibernation." "That's impossible," Pax said automatically, then caught himself. "I mean, the energy requirements would be immense." Jack nodded. "That's why we need the Council's help. Our ships can deliver the devices, but we need your fleet to generate the energy field that will activate them." High Counselor Zax was silent for a long moment. Finally, he nodded. "The Council will cooperate. We have no choice." "Good," Admiral Taylor said. "Because there's one more thing you should know." She gestured, and Atlas displayed a new course, projection for the void. "It's not random," she explained. "The void is moving with purpose. After Earth, its trajectory takes it directly to the Council's capital worlds." The aliens fell silent as they processed this information. "How did you know?" Morse finally asked. "How did your people prepare so much so quickly?" Jack and Admiral Taylor exchanged glances. "Because this isn't the first time," Jack said quietly. "According to our oldest myths, the void has visited Earth before. The records were fragmented, passed down as legends about a world eater or star devourer. When our deep space sensors detected the energy pattern, we recognized it from those descriptions." "Your species remembered for 5,000 years?" Pax asked, amazed. "We're stubborn that way," Tom said with a grim smile. "And we hold grudges." Admiral Taylor stood tall. "High Counselor, we need to move quickly. Every ship, every resource, everything we have goes into this fight. The void won't stop with a few systems. It will consume everything if we let it. High Counselor Zax nodded, his earlier arrogance replaced by determination. The Council fleet is at your disposal, Admiral. What is your plan? Admiral Taylor looked at Jack, who stepped forward with a confident smile. We're going to set a trap, he said, and we're going to use Earth as the bait. The solar system that humans called home buzzed with activity unlike anything the Galactic Council had ever witnessed. Within just 3 days of the meeting aboard the ancient ship, Earth's orbit was filled with vessels from both human and Council fleets. The original Deathworld ship, now officially named Progenitor by joint agreement, had been moved to orbit around Jupiter. Captain Moores stood on the observation deck of his own vessel, watching in amazement as humans swarmed over the gas giant's moons. What exactly are they building? He asked Admiral Taylor, who had come aboard for a strategy meeting. She pointed to massive structures emerging on Ganymede, Callisto, and 3 other Jovian moons. Energy projectors, part of our trap. Science Officer Pax studied the readings with fascination. The power requirements must be enormous. How are they generating enough energy? Fusion reactors, Tom explained as he entered the room with several data tablets. We've been building them in secret for decades, disguised as mining operations. Commander Lin snorted in disbelief. Your species hid planet-scale energy weapons from your own population? Tom shrugged. We called it the Deep Space Defense Initiative. Most people thought it was just a waste of tax money. Turns out, paranoia sometimes pays off. Admiral Taylor brought up a holographic display of the solar system. The trap is simple in concept. We know the void is attracted to concentrated energy sources. Earth is already a beacon to it with our biosphere's diversity. We're going to make it even more tempting. Jack joined them, looking tired but determined. The Dreamcatcher devices are being installed on all 15 of our replica ships. We've also adapted the technology to work with 50 Council vessels. And you're certain these will work? High Counselor Zax asked via hologram from his flagship. No, Jack answered honestly. But Atlas's data gives us a fighting chance. The original Progenitor weapon could push the void back. Our Dreamcatchers are designed to trigger its hibernation cycle prematurely. The Council representatives exchanged worried glances. Your honesty is unusual, Commander Lin noted. Most species would promise victory to gain our support. Dana, who had been quietly working on calculations, looked up. We don't have time for false promises. The void has consumed 2 more systems in the past 24 hours. It's accelerating even faster than we predicted. Atlas appeared on the command deck, his holographic form flickering slightly. New projections indicate the void will reach Jupiter's orbit in 7 days, not 9 as previously calculated. A tense silence fell over the room. We need more time, Admiral Taylor said, studying the construction reports. The lunar installations won't be ready for at least 8 days. Then we need to slow it down, Jack said. He turned to High Counselor Zax. We need your fastest ships to deploy a series of energy decoys along the void's path. Decoys? Zax asked. Small energy sources, Dana explained, bringing up the designs. Not enough to satisfy it, but enough to distract it temporarily. Like throwing snacks to delay a predator. You're asking us to sacrifice more ships, Commander Lin said bluntly. Unmanned drones, Jack clarified. No crew, just automated vessels broadcasting energy signatures similar to a living world, but at about 10% intensity. High Counselor Zax considered the plan. It could work. The beacons might buy us the extra days we need. We'll need to coordinate the deployment carefully, Admiral Taylor said. If the decoys are too weak, the void will ignore them. Too strong, and it might change course entirely and head for a populated system. Tom brought up navigation charts. We've calculated optimal positions. If we deploy 40 decoys at these coordinates, we should be able to slow the void's approach by approximately 36 hours. Do it, Zax ordered. I'll assign Commander Vex to coordinate with your team. As the meeting continued, Captain Moores pulled Jack aside. There's something I don't understand. Why use Earth as bait? Why not evacuate your population and set the trap elsewhere? Jack's expression grew somber. 2 reasons. First, practical. We couldn't evacuate Earth in time. We have 8 billion people and limited interstellar capability. We'd save maybe 1 million at best. And the second reason? Moores pressed. Strategic, Jack said simply. If we run, the void will keep chasing us. Every world would fall, one after another. We need to make our stand somewhere, and Earth is as good a place as any. Better, actually, since we've been preparing for this. How long have you been preparing? Moores asked, curiosity overcoming his usual reserve. Jack's gaze drifted to the viewport, where Earth was visible as a small blue dot in the distance. In some ways, our entire history. Humans have always been obsessed with extinction-level threats. Asteroids, nuclear war, climate collapse, artificial intelligence. We've spent centuries imagining ways the world might end. A morbid preoccupation, Moores commented. Maybe, Jack agreed, but it meant that when we detected the void, we already had protocols in place, plans ready to activate. While your council was debating whether to form a committee to study the anomaly, we were already building weapons. In the following days, the solar system transformed into a war zone. The council's fastest ships deployed the energy decoys along the void's projected path, while construction continued at a frantic pace on Jupiter's moons. The original progenitor ship underwent final modifications, with human engineers working alongside council technicians in areas that would kill most species in minutes. On the 5th day, Major Reed of Earth's Special Forces conducted a training exercise that astonished the alien observers. In the most radiation-flooded section of the progenitor ship, Reed led a team of 20 humans through combat drills, wearing only lightweight environmental suits. Commander Lin watched from behind a heavily shielded observation window. "This is madness," she said to Admiral Taylor. "They'll all be dead within a year from radiation exposure." "Maybe," the Admiral replied calmly. "But we need soldiers who can fight in these conditions. The void disrupts normal environmental systems. Standard protection won't work in the battle zones." Science Officer Pax monitored the humans' vital signs with scientific curiosity. Remarkable. Their cellular structure is actually adapting to the radiation rather than breaking down. I've never seen anything like it. Descendant of Deathworlders, Dana reminded him with a slight smile. We evolved on a planet that tried to kill us in 1,000 different ways every day. Makes you tough. On the training deck, Major Reed demonstrated how to deploy a Dreamcatcher device while under simulated attack. His movements were precise, economical, with no wasted energy. The delivery teams will have approximately 20 seconds to plant each device before the void's energy disrupts their suits, he explained to his squad. After that, you'll start experiencing system failures. At 30 seconds, you'll be exposed to null space radiation. At 40 seconds, he didn't need to finish the sentence. Suicide mission, one of the council observers muttered. No, Reed corrected sharply. It's a calculated risk. We go in, plant the devices, get out. 20 seconds is plenty of time if you don't panic. And if something goes wrong? The alien asked. Reed's face hardened. Then we make those 20 seconds count. On the 6th day, the energy decoys encountered the void. From the command center established in Earth orbit, human and alien leaders watched as the darkness engulfed the unmanned vessels one by one. Each decoy slowed the void briefly as it consumed the energy, giving the defenders precious additional hours. It's working, High Counselor Zax observed, a note of hope in his voice for the first time. For now, Jack cautioned. But it's learning. Look how it's consuming the later decoys more quickly. Admiral Taylor studied the tactical display. Atlas revised timeline? The AI's calculations appeared instantly. The void will reach Jupiter's orbit in 36 hours, Earth in approximately 45 hours after that. Will the trap be ready? Captain Moores asked. Tom looked up from his console where he'd been coordinating with the construction teams. The Jupiter installations will be operational in 24 hours. It's going to be close. Jack turned to Admiral Taylor. We need to move the civilian evacuation ships now. Get as many people to Mars shelter zones as possible. She nodded grimly. Already happening. We'll have about 300 million in the deep bunkers by tomorrow. If the trap fails, it won't fail, Jack said with quiet confidence. But if it does, those bunkers might buy them a few extra hours. Dana approached with new data. The Council fleet is in position. Admiral Keth reports they're ready to generate the containment field on your command. Admiral Taylor surveyed the room. Humans and aliens working side by side. Races that hadn't known of each other's existence just days ago now united against extinction. It's time, she announced. All ships to battle positions. This is what we've been preparing for. As the command crew dispersed to their stations, Captain Moores found himself standing beside Jack. In all my years exploring space, the alien captain said quietly, I never imagined finding a species like yours. You evolved on a world more hostile than any we've encountered, yet you're not conquerors or destroyers. Jack looked at the displays, showing Earth's defenders moving into position, human ships alongside alien vessels from a dozen worlds. Don't get me wrong, he replied with a grim smile. Humans can be plenty destructive when we want to be. We've nearly wiped ourselves out, more than once, but we're also stubborn. We don't like being told we can't do something, especially by a cosmic horror that wants to eat our planet. Alarms sounded as new readings appeared on the main screen. The darkness that was the void had changed course, bypassing the remaining decoys. It was coming straight for them now, moving faster than ever. It knows, Atlas announced. The void has recognized the trap. It comes for Earth directly. Admiral Taylor's voice came over the comm system, steady and determined. All vessels, this is not a drill. The void has accelerated. Estimated arrival 18 hours. Prepare for immediate deployment. The greatest battle in human history was about to begin. The darkness came from between the stars, moving faster than any natural phenomenon. From the command deck of the progenitor ship, now positioned at the front line of Earth's defenses, Captain Moores watched with a mixture of terror and awe as the void approached Jupiter's orbit. It's beautiful, he whispered, despite himself. The void resembled a massive, swirling storm of absolute blackness that bent light around its edges. Stars disappeared as it passed, swallowed into nothingness. It moved with purpose, with hunger, with an ancient and terrible intent. All stations report ready, Jack announced, his voice steady despite the enormity of what they faced. Jupiter Defense Grid is online. Admiral Taylor nodded, her face illuminated by the glow of tactical displays. Activate on my mark. The void reached the orbit of Jupiter's outermost moon. Sensors throughout the system screamed warnings as reality itself seemed to warp around the approaching entity. Now, Admiral Taylor commanded. At once, the massive installations on Jupiter's moons flared to life. Enormous beams of energy shot forth, not targeting the void directly, but forming a complex web of light around it. The containment field took shape, a trap designed not to destroy but to hold. For a moment, it seemed to work. The void slowed, its edges rippling as it encountered the energy pattern. The field is holding, Dana reported. Containment at 78% and stable. But then the darkness pulsed. Tendrils of void matter stretched outward, testing the field. One tendril touched a beam, and the entire projector on Callisto exploded in a flash of light. Callisto, station down, Tom reported grimly. Field integrity dropping to 63%. Jack turned to Major Reed, who stood ready with his deployment teams. We need to move now, while it's partially contained. Launch the strike teams. Reed nodded once and spoke into his comm unit. All teams deploy. From the progenitor ship and its 15 smaller replicas, small craft shot toward the void. Each carried a team of humans in specialized suits and one precious dreamcatcher device. Council vessels, generate secondary containment field, Admiral, Taylor ordered. The alien ships moved in perfect formation, their advanced shields creating a second layer of defense around the first. High Counselor Zax's flagship led the maneuver, its powerful engines glowing as it positioned itself at a critical junction point. Remarkable coordination, Atlas commented. The Council fleet has never moved with such precision before. Fear is a powerful motivator, Tom replied, monitoring the approach of the strike teams. The void pulsed again, stronger this time. 3 more projectors on Jupiter's moons went dark. The containment field flickered dangerously. Field integrity at 41% and falling, Dana reported, her fingers flying over the controls as she attempted to reroute power. On the tactical display, they watched as the first wave of strike teams reached the void's outer boundary. The small craft disappeared into the darkness one by one. Strike teams have penetrated the void's outer layer, Reed reported. Deploying Dreamcatchers now. Inside the void, the human teams fought against conditions that defied normal physics. Their vessel's systems failed almost immediately upon entry, forcing them to continue on emergency power. Team leaders activated their Dreamcatchers, the devices, glowing with an eerie blue light as they anchored them to whatever solid matter they could find within the shifting darkness. First wave has deployed 12 devices, Reed announced. Beginning extraction. Captain Moores watched in amazement as the small craft began to emerge from the void. Not all of them made it out. 3 ships remained within the darkness, their signals lost. Second wave. Launch, Jack ordered, his voice tight but controlled. As the next group of teams launched toward the void, the first Dreamcatchers activated. Points of blue light appeared within the darkness, spreading ripples of energy through the void's structure. "It's working," Pax exclaimed. "The Dreamcatchers are disrupting its cohesion." The void seemed to sense the threat. It contracted suddenly, pulling away from Jupiter and accelerating toward Earth. As it moved, it absorbed the remaining energy from the containment field, growing larger. "All projectors lost," Dana reported. "Containment field has failed." "Admiral," Taylor's expression remained calm despite the setback. "Proceed to Phase 2. All Council vessels fall back to Earth defense position." The alien fleet broke formation, racing ahead of the void toward Earth. The human ships followed, including the progenitor vessel. Second wave reports successful. "Deployment of 10 more Dreamcatchers," Reed said. "But we've lost 5 teams." Jack placed a hand briefly on Reed's shoulder, acknowledging the sacrifice before turning back to the tactical display. "The void is adapting too quickly. We need to deploy the rest of the devices before it reaches Earth." As they approached Earth orbit, the magnificent blue planet filled the viewports. Clouds swirled over oceans and continents, home to billions of lives now hanging in the balance. "Final position reached," Admiral Taylor announced. "All ships in defensive formation." The combined human and alien fleet formed a last line of defense around Earth. Behind them, the planet's own defense grid activated, thousands of satellites and orbital platforms generating a protective shield. The void arrived minutes later, its massive form now streaked with pulses of blue light where the Dreamcatchers had taken hold. It slowed as it approached Earth, seeming to study the defenses. "It's hesitating," Commander Lin observed. "The Dreamcatchers are affecting it." "Not enough," Jack said, studying the readings. "We need more devices planted deeper within its structure." Admiral Taylor frowned. "The remaining teams can't penetrate far enough before their systems fail. We'd need something that could survive, longer inside the void." Jack and Tom exchanged a look. "We have something," Jack said. "The progenitor ship itself." Captain Moores stared at him. "You want to fly this ship directly into the void? That's suicide." "This ship was built to fight the void," Jack explained. "Its systems can withstand null space radiation longer than anything else we have." Admiral Taylor understood immediately. "A direct strike at the core with all remaining Dreamcatchers on board." "Exactly," Jack nodded. "One massive dose right at the center." "Who would pilot such a mission?" High Counselor Zax asked via hologram. Jack stood straighter. "I will, with a volunteer crew." "I'm in," Tom said immediately. Dana nodded. "Me too." "And me," Major Reed added. One by one, humans volunteered for what would likely be a one-way journey. Captain Moores watched them with growing wonder. These beings from a death world that should never have produced intelligent life were willing to sacrifice themselves not just for their own planet, but for all worlds threatened by the void. "This vessel contains the collective knowledge of the progenitors," Morse pointed out. If you lose it. We've already downloaded the data, Dana said, and distributed it to both human and council archives. Admiral Taylor made the decision. Proceed with the plan. All other vessels will create a corridor for the progenitor ship to reach the Void's center. The preparations happened with astonishing speed. The remaining Dreamcatchers were loaded aboard the ancient vessel, modified, to create one massive device. The volunteer crew of 15 humans took their positions. As the final systems checks were completed, Captain Morse surprised everyone by stepping forward. I request permission to join this mission, he said formally. Jack studied the alien. Captain, you understand this is likely a one-way trip? Morse's antenna quivered, but his voice was firm. I do. My species has explored space for 1,000 years, but we've never witnessed courage like yours. I would be honored to stand with you. Jack nodded and extended his hand in the human gesture of agreement. After a moment's hesitation, Morse took it. The final goodbyes were brief. Admiral Taylor saluted the volunteer crew as they prepared to depart. Earth stands with you, she said simply. All of humanity does. High Counselor Zax added, as does the Galactic Council. Today, we are one people. The progenitor ship broke from the defensive formation, accelerating toward the void. The combined fleet opened a path, their weapons firing continuously to create a temporary corridor through the darkness. Approaching entry point, Tom reported from the navigation console. Dreamcatcher primed and ready. Jack took his position at the command center. Around him, humans and one brave alien prepared to face the impossible. For Earth, Jack said, quietly. For all worlds, Captain Morse added. The ancient ship plunged into the heart of darkness. 3 weeks later, Admiral Taylor stood in the newly constructed Galactic Council embassy on Earth. Through the wide windows, she could see the strange crystalline object now orbiting the planet, the void, transformed and contained. Hi, Counselor Zax approached, his tall form moving gracefully despite Earth's gravity, which was uncomfortable for his species. The containment remains stable, he reported. The void is fully dormant, possibly permanently. Admiral Taylor nodded. And the volunteer crew? Still no communication, Zax said gently. But the sensors detect life signs within the crystalline structure. They may yet return to us. The door opened, and Dana entered. She had survived the mission, ejected in an escape pod moments before the final activation of the Dreamcatcher. The council vote is complete, she announced. Earth has been officially recognized as the inheritor of the progenitor legacy and granted full membership status. Admiral Taylor smiled slightly. Jack would have enjoyed the irony. From unknown species to council leadership in less than a month. Outside the embassy, human and alien children played together in a specially designed garden. One small human boy showed a young Trillian how to climb a tree, while the alien child demonstrated how to change skin color to match the leaves. They adapt so quickly, Zax observed, watching the children. It's what we do best, Admiral Taylor replied. It's how we survived Earth, and now, it's how we'll help build something better among the stars. High in orbit, the crystallized void glittered like a second moon. No longer a threat, but a reminder of what could be accomplished when the most unlikely allies stood together against the darkness.